So we are starting a new chapter today, chapter 4.1. Don't know what this is doing here. That's annoying. Don't know how to get rid of it. There we go. All right, so chapter 4.1, we are going to be writing equations in slope-intercept form. Writing equations. Now, Alex pointed out slope-intercept form sounds familiar, right? We dealt with slope-intercept form last quarter. That was with graphing, though, right? You'd graph your y-intercept and then count out your slope. This time we're not graphing them though, we're actually trying to write the equation itself, okay? So does anyone remember what slope-intercept form is? Like what the equation is? Yeah, it's y equals mx plus b. M is the slope, all right? M is your slope, the number in front of x. That is your slope. And remember, that is your rise over your run, or wasn't there a little equation for it too? You would subtract the 2's on top, or subtract the y's on top, subtract the x's on the bottom. Does that sound familiar? Your formula for that is y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. That was the formula we used. And then remember b, your b value was your y-intercept, which you write as a point, 0, comma, and then whatever that number is. Okay, so we're gonna just write equations. So that's y equals mx plus b, but we gotta know what our m is, our slope, and we gotta know what our b is, our y-intercept. Now the first few, I'm gonna just completely give you that information. We're gonna practice plugging it in, make sure we know where it goes, and then they'll get a little bit more complicated after that. So if you look at example 1, it says write the equation of each line with the given slope and y-intercept. And if you look, do I give you a slope? Yeah. Do I give you a y-intercept? Yeah. Okay, and if you look at your equation, don't you need a slope? Don't you need a y-intercept? So do I have everything I need? Absolutely. What's nice about one like this actually doesn't need any solving at all. You just got to plug things into the right place. So your slope, remember your slope is your m value, and your y-intercept is your b value. So all we're going to do here is put those in these places. So your equation is always going to start with a y, so y equals, and then m is your slope, which is which number? 3. Then put your x next to it. Then plus, and then your b value, which is your y-intercept, which is what number? 1/2. Yeah, the other one. 1/2. It doesn't matter that it's a fraction. You can just leave it the way it is. And you're done. That's it. That's your answer. Not too bad right now, right? No. All right. So now look at b. We have a slope of 0. And then our y-intercept is 3. So now let's plug that in where that one needs to go. We would have y equals, then what do you think we put? The 0. Yeah, then the x, then what? Plus 3, good. Now, does this look a little funny to anybody? Look, yeah, it looks a little funny to me. 0x, right? Doesn't that look a little weird probably? If you have 0x, well, doesn't it actually mean that there's no x's at all? So if there's none of something, do we have to include it? No. So you actually could rewrite this one as just y equals 3. You don't have to have the 0x there if you don't want to. All right, and then look at part C. Your slope. Your slope is 2/3, and your y-intercept is 0. Slope is which letter again? In y equals mx plus b? Okay, slope is m, and y-intercept is which letter again? The b. All right, so if you'll have y equals m, which is your slope. What's your slope? 2 over 3, and then what do I put next to that? X, and then plus 0. Does adding or subtracting 0 matter, though? Will it change anything? Do I have to include it? Can I if I want? Sure. But you could also write this as y equals just 2/3 x. Either way that you like to see it. Means the same thing. Okay. Do I have you guys so far? Okay. As much as I can on a Monday morning after a long weekend? Yeah. All right. So now, second kind of problem is we're again going to write each equation here in slope-intercept form. Except if you look, this time don't we have pictures? Okay. But if we have a picture, can we figure out our slope? Could we count out our rise over our run? Could we also locate our y-intercept? Yeah, it's where it crosses the y-axis, right? So I'll be able to find everything I need. It's just being shown to me a little bit differently. So I have 3 steps I'm going to follow. Step 1 is count out the slope. Step 2 is identify the y-intercept. And step 3 is plug those values into slope-intercept form, just like we did in the first part. So if you take a look at A, I don't care what you do first. If you want to count out your slope first, count out your slope first. If you want to find your y-intercept first, find your y-intercept first. I'm going to always find my slope first, because isn't that the first part of your equation? I just think it's easier to go in order with that. So let's first find our slope. So that's our m. Remember, that's rise over run. And remember, when we do this, we always pick a point on the left, right? And then go to your point on the right. So my point on the left here is here. To get to my point on the right, should I count up or should I count down? Okay, I'm going to count down. So let's count down. That'll be 1, 2, 3. So my rise is what? Kind of a 3. Negative. Why negative 3? Because he went down. You sure? Okay. Now, should I count to the left or to the right? To the right. 1, 2, 3, 4. Positive or negative 4 if I counted to the right? Positive. Do I need to reduce negative 3 over 4? Okay, no. All right, so there's my m. There's my slope. What's my y-intercept? Do you guys see it? Yeah, if you take a look right here, doesn't it go through your y-axis at the number 2, 0, 2? So that means b is going to equal the number 2. You don't really need the 0 part, right? Okay, so now I have m and I have b. Do I have everything I need to plug into y equals mx plus b? Yeah, I have m and I have b, so that's really all I need. So remember, it's y equals mx plus b. If you're unsure, do I have m? Yes. Do I have b? Yes, that's all I need. Okay, so that'll be y equals m. What was my m value? Negative 3 over 4. Then what letter do I put next to it? X, and then plus 2, because that was my y value, or my b, my y-intercept. And that's my equation. Negative 3 over 4x plus 2. All right, we're going to do part B together, and then I want you guys to try out C, okay? All right, now these ones, they sometimes throw people off a little bit. You just got to be a little careful. What's a little different about B and C versus A? Yeah. Okay, yeah, it does go through the negative. And also, I think I heard Brooklyn say there's no little dots on it, right? But can I find a little dot? Yeah. Anywhere if it goes through the little crosshatch, right, that would be a good dot to use. I see one up here at -4, 2. Where else do you guys maybe see one? Yeah. Okay, I see one at -2, 1. Where else do you guys maybe see one? Yeah, at -4. That one will be good to use, right? Because isn't that your y-intercept? That one we definitely want to make sure we can find. So it's where they cross. Yeah. Yeah, so you see the little cross hatches, Alex? The little boxes? It's where your line goes through the little, like, the corners of the box. So if you take a look right here, Alex, see how this is like gridded? Do you see the grid? This is a grid, right? The little boxes, that's a grid. Okay. See how the little grids intersect and they make these little crosses, these little T's? Okay. So what happens is that, correct. Okay. Yeah. All right. So now can I count out my slope? Yeah, I have a couple different points. Does it really matter which one I start with as long as I go from left to right? No, you just got to go from a point to a point, okay? So let's count out our slope. So remember, that's our rise over our run. So I'm going to start all the way on the left here. And I'm going to, should I count up or down? Down. Down 1, 2, 3. So that would be -3 because I counted down. And then should I go left or right? Right. 1, 2. Would that be a positive or a -2? Positive because I went to the right. Okay. So I went down 3, right 2. Did it matter if I used the other 2 sets of points? No, if you did, wouldn't it also still just be down 3, right 2? Yeah, doesn't matter. All right, now let's find our y-intercept. That's where it's going to cross the y-axis. At what number does it cross the y-axis? At -4. All right. So now do I have everything I need to write y equals mx plus b? Yep. Didn't like me cracking my neck, Alex? You'll be okay. So y equals mx plus b. That's y equals, what was your m? -3/2. Put your x, and then, do I really want to put a plus and negative though? I mean, could I? Could I? No. Could I? Sure. But does it get a little tricky when you have multiple signs happening? It can, right? So if I have plus and negative, which one should I actually include? The negative. So -4. That's okay. A lot of people would put that, and that's okay if you put it and then like correct, like, and then fix it afterwards. It's not wrong. It just, I worry then that you might do something, you know, silly with the 2 signs. All right, I want you guys to try out C. Try out C. Same exact strategy. People at home, how are we doing? Are they awake? People at home, are we doing okay? Okay, good. At least one person's awake. Always worrisome. Okay, so for your slope, you're gonna pick the dot on the left and then count up and over to the bottom. So how many do you go up? 2, so it's 2. And how many go over? 1. That's 2 over 1, or you can just write 2 over 1 is just 2. It's up to you. Okay? How are we doing? Yes. You can also do that. It doesn't matter. Correct, but a negative over a negative would be positive. So you'll just have to make sure you fix your signs. It doesn't actually matter. You can count it out either way, Corey. I just went left to right just so we keep it consistent each time, you know? Where do you see that it goes through your y-intercept? Or the y? Where's your y-axis? Is it this line or this line? Yeah, that line. So where does it go through that line? So we're looking at this line here. Where does this line from? Yeah. So that's going to be your y-intercept. So then we're going to be here. And then you do your y x plus 8. Okay? Yeah. All right. Let's check this. So for part C, where did you guys see some points that we could use that could help us here? Alex? Like this one, this -2? Here? Okay, where else? Yep. Okay, it goes through the y-axis at 4, and then I saw a few people had marked this one down here. You could use that one, right? It goes through it a couple different places. Use what you notice. Shouldn't matter. All right. Then count out your slope. Jake Sanders, help me count out my slope. What did you get for that? Yeah, because if you pick either point, right, left to right, you go up 2, right 1. Can you simplify 2 over 1? Technically, you could write it as 2 if you want. Does it matter? No, I don't really care. Okay, so 2 over 1 or 2. I prefer to use a whole number when I can, so I'm going to write it as 2, but if you left it as 2 over 1, that's fine. All right, now we need your y-intercept. Lynn, where's your y-intercept at on this one? At 4, yep, that's where it crosses your y-axis. So that's 4. And then Aiden, how did you write your equation? Yeah, y equals 2 over 1, x, or just 2x, either way, plus 4. Good. Do we feel okay about that, guys? Alex, question? So 2 over 1 means the same thing as 2. What's... you might be looking at the wrong axis. So the y-axis is this one here. Oh, this -2? That's your x-axis. The one right above that. This one? Is there a dot there though? There's a dot there? Does the blue line cross at 2? See how this line here is blue? See this blue line? At what number does the blue line cross the yellow line? No, not the blue and the yellow. Yeah, no, the other way, yeah. It's easy to get the Y and the X confused. But so Alex, if you take a look, see this blue line? See the yellow line? At what number do they cross? 4. That's why it's 4 and not 2. Does that make sense? Okay. And if you need to, you can always borrow a highlighter or something, and if it helps you to like highlight it, you can. Okay. Let's see what's after this. All right. We're gonna do these ones and then we'll take a little break. So example 3 says write an equation of the line that goes through the given points. So this is a little bit different. We've done it with a picture, right? And with when we're given our y-intercept and our I can't think right now, our y-intercept and our slope. This is a little bit different because we're given 2 points. So this says, first, step 1, use the slope formula to calculate the slope. Because if you look, is there anything here that says m equals? And can we count it out? No, we have to use our slope formula, which I have written up above if you need to look. Step 2 is to identify the y-intercept. One of these points here is actually the y-intercept. And then you plug the values into slope-intercept formula. Okay, so there's really one extra step here, and that's you got to find your slope. So we are going to actually do that first. We're just going to take our steps in order. So we're going to find our slope first. Now remember, for our slope, let me reshare my screen. 1 second. People at home, can you see my screen again? Yeah, okay. Nick's awake. Nick's still there. Not sure about anybody else. Okay, so with these, what we were going to do is we were going to write an equation of the line that goes through the points. Step 1 was going to be to use the slope formula. Step 2 is identify the y-intercept, and then step 3 is plug the values into the slope-intercept equation. It's just really one extra step. Okay, let's see if the pen is working. All right, for a little while at least. We shall find out. All right, so remember for your slope, you do y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So I would go ahead and figure out what point you want to be x1, y1, which one you want to be x2, y2, does it matter? Not really, I tend to go from left to right. So I'm going to say this is x1, y1, this is x2, y2. And then let's plug those values in. So remember, the important thing here, guys, is to keep your y's with your y's, and then to keep your x's with your x's. That's probably the most common mistake, is that people mix those things up. So what's your y2 value? What should we put first when we're plugging this in? Yeah, -1. Then put your minus, and then what's your y1 value? 5. So on top, -1 minus 5. Put your fraction bar. What's your x2 value? 0. Minus, and then what's your x1 value? -3. Yep, I was about to ask, what should I do with that double negative? Change it to a positive. All right, -1 minus 5 is -6. 0 plus 3 is 3. Good. Can I reduce -6 over 3? Yeah. Yeah, what's -6 over 3? Not -1/2. -2. Just -2, because is -6 divisible by 3? Yeah, so that would just be -2. If you write -2 over 1, is that okay? Yeah. Okay, so there's my slope. Now take a look at these points. I gave you the hint before we took our little break that one of these points is the y-intercept. If you look at these, do you see one that could maybe be the y-intercept, Jaden? No? Okay. I thought you were raising your hand. What do you think, Asia? Why 0, -1? Yeah, when you have a y-intercept, isn't x 0? And if you look at this point, isn't x 0? It's just a y, isn't it? So that's your y-intercept. Your b value is going to be -1. So now, do I have everything I need? I do. So now we can do our y equals mx plus b. What's our m? What kind of a 2? -2. Then put your x. And then should it be, yeah, and then b is a -1. So then we would put -1. Good. So it's really only one extra step. All right. So let's go over and look at B. I'm going to actually have you guys try one of the other ones. I want to practice a little bit first. They're on the back. They're on the next page. We'll see how many I feel like we need to do. If I feel like we're doing well, we won't go through every single one. Because I'd like you guys to have time to work on your assignment because it's nice and short. And we're checking it tomorrow, so I want to make sure we have time. Your homework. Oh, wait, we have SRT. Yeah, you have SRT today, and this shouldn't take that much longer. I'm hoping to give you guys a good amount of time in class. It's only like 6 questions or something. 5, yeah, nothing. Oh, okay. Yeah, it's very short. All right, so for part B, and we might skip around a little bit on the notes, so don't worry. Okay, so for B, we have 0, -5, and 8, -1. First step is to find the what? Yeah, your slope, your x1 and your y1. Let's find your slope. So here's x1, y1, here's x2, y2, and let's find your slope. For your slope, subtract the y's on top. So what should I subtract on top? Yeah, -5, then minus what? -5 again. Change the double negative into a what? Positive. All right, then on the bottom, subtract your x's. What should we do down there? 8 minus, oh yeah, -0, not 80. 8. 8 minus 0. All right. What is -5 plus 5? 0. Okay, 0 over 8. And what's 0 over 8? 8. Nope. 0. Okay. Now right, so now which point here is going to be your y-intercept? The 0, -5 or the 8, -5? Yep. The 0, -5. So B is going to be -5. Now, when you do your y equals mx plus b, some of you might already notice, isn't m 0? Yeah, so we don't really have a slope, but I still want to show you guys what this would look like. Let me scoot this up because I didn't have as much room as I thought. So when you do your y equals mx plus b, you would have y equals 0x minus 5, right? But do you really need to include the 0x? Can you if you want? Yeah, but if you want, this would just be y equals -5. Either way. I don't think there's a weird one like that on your homework. Because I wanted you guys to hopefully be able to get it done in class today. You're welcome. All right. I want to try at least one, maybe 2 more of these. And then we need to do our table stuff, and then we'll work on our assignment. All right, so for part C, we have 0, -2, and 4, 10. Ladies and gentlemen, what is my first step? Okay, yeah, put your x1, y1, and your x2, y2. Now, what do I need to do with that information? What am I going to calculate? Look at the other page if you need to. What are we going to calculate, Jake? I'm sorry? Yeah, we're going to subtract the y. We're going to find our slope, right? But yeah, so Jake, you said to do 10 minus what on top? Good. 10 minus -2 on top. And then somebody else. What about on the bottom? 4 minus 0. Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, what should I do with that double negative? Make it a positive. What is 10 plus 2? 12 and 4. Good. Is 12 divisible by 4? Yes. What is 12 divided by 4? 3. So 3 or 3 over 1 is an acceptable slope. All right. So now I have my slope. What else do I need? I need a y-intercept. Is there a point here? That is your y-intercept. 0, -2. How can you tell? Why is it that one and not 4, 10? Corey? Right. The x is 0, and then you have a number for y, right? So that's what you're looking for. So x is 0, and y is a number. So that means your y-intercept is -2. Now I have my slope. I have my y-intercept. Is that enough information? Absolutely. So now if I have my y equals mx plus b, what do I plug in? Yeah, y equals 3x minus 2. Good. Good, good. How do we feel about that? Do we want to do one more? Do we want to go down to the table? Okay. It looks like a couple of us want to do one more. So let's do one more and then we'll go down to the table. All right, so let's take a look at part D. Oh, I think I just accidentally typed and. It's the same. All right. YF. Just because you want to? Sure. Okay, Jaden wants to do F. Let's look at F. All right, what's your first step? Yeah, your slope, right? Your x1, y1, x2, y2. Let's find your slope. Subtract your y's on the top. So what do we subtract on the top? 7 minus 9. 7 minus 9. Good. What about on the bottom? 0. 8 minus 0. Okay, good. What is 7 minus 9? -2. What is 8 minus 0? 8. Should I reduce the fraction -2 over 8? Yeah, what goes into both of them? 2. -2 divided by 2 is? -1. 8 divided by 2 is? 4. Okay, so there's my slope. I'm glad we looked at this one because we want to see a fraction one. All right, now, is one of these points your y-intercept? Yes. Which one? 0, 9. 0, 9, because it has a 0 in the x. So b equals 9. Now when you do your y equals mx plus b, you're going to have y equals, what do I put in for m? What do I put in for m? -1/4. Then put what letter? X. Then put what? Plus 9. Good. Good. All right. Questions on that? Okay. I want to go down and look at a table one. And then I'd like to give you guys the rest of the time to do your assignment. All right, using a table to write an equation. Remember, in an XY table, each set of numbers is a coordinate point. So for example, if you look at this table, see how it's see how you have a -1 and a -1? That literally means the point -1, comma, -1. This means the point 0, comma, 1. This means the point 1, comma, 3, etc. So you're going to use the table to identify the y-intercept. It's going to be whatever's 0 and then a number, right? Just like your point. And you're going to calculate the slope using 2 points. So it's actually very similar to what we just did up above, except you're given a little additional information. Do you need all of it? No, pick and choose what you want to do, what you want to use. Okay. The first thing I would do, well, actually, you could calculate your slope right away if you want, because aren't all of these points, every single one of these is a coordinate point. This is -1, -1. This is 0, 1. This is 1, 3. This is 2, 5. Could you pick any two you wanted and just find your slope? You could, yeah. All right, so that's one thing you could do. Or if you want to kind of have a place to start, you could find your y-intercept. Do you guys see which set of numbers here would have to be your y-intercept? Y0, 1, Annalise. Yeah. Yep. When you are looking for a y-intercept, doesn't x have to be 0? And then y is a number? Isn't that what happens right here? Yes. Yeah. Okay, so that's your y-intercept. So that's your b value. So we know that b is going to be 1. Okay, so now we have our b part. We need the m part, right? The slope. If looking at it in this format confuses you, you guys can absolutely take these and turn them into coordinate points if you prefer. Doesn't that mean the same thing? Yeah, so if you don't like how this looks, you can always just rewrite it. Okay? I wouldn't necessarily rewrite every single one of them because that might seem like too much information to you. But let's see, we just took these two. Are these 2 points? Yes. Could I now find my slope? Sure. Okay, so I'm going to make one of these my x1, y1, and the other one my x2, y2. Could I have picked 1 and 3 if I prefer? Yeah, sure. It doesn't matter if you were like, no, I don't want negatives, right? You could have picked 1 and 3. I was just picking the first one, just because. All right, so let's find our slope. So let's subtract our y's. How are we going to subtract our y's? Yeah, 1 minus what? -1. Double negative needs to switch to a positive. Okay, now look at your x's. How are we going to subtract our x's? What's our first x value here? 0 minus, and then what's your x1? -1. Okay, for the next one we'll pick positive numbers, so it's not quite as tricky. All right, what's 1 plus 1? 2. What's 0 plus 1? 1. Can you leave it as 2 over 1 if you want? How could you rewrite it if you want to, though? Just 2. Now we have our slope. We have our y-intercept. Do we have everything we need? Absolutely. So if I do my y equals mx plus b, I have everything I need now. What am I plugging in for m? 2 or 2 over 1. What letter do I put next to it? X, then what? Plus 1. Good. Good. People at home, any questions? You've all been very quiet today. I'm not sure if they're there. Hopefully they're there. All right. All right, part B, last one, and then you guys are gonna have the rest of the time to work on your homework. All right, so for part B, this one's a table. Remember, these are all just points. This is the point -6, 5. This is -3, 4. This is 0, 3, and this is 3, 2. Alex. Yep. If you take a look, we have our y-intercept here, 0, 3, right? So we can say B is going to equal 3. So if that's the point 0, 3, can I just grab another point and then plug it into the slope formula? Doesn't matter which one? No, how about we do the one, so that way we have positive numbers, okay? Let's deal with the one below it, 3, 2. All right, so put which one's your x1, y1? Oh, not 2. x1, y1, and then x2, y2. And then let's find our slope. How should I subtract the top? What are my two y values? 3 and 2. So if I do y2 minus y1, I should do? Yeah, well, and if you do 3 minus 2 on top, you have to make sure you do 0 minus 3 on the bottom. So just make sure you keep your order consistent. It doesn't matter either way, though. Just to keep it the way we've been doing it, I'm going to do 2 minus 3 over. And if I do 2 minus 3, what should I do on the bottom? 3 minus 0. What's wrong with that? With which part? The slope part? Okay. So do you see where we got 0, 3 from? It is. Oh, you mean when you're plugging it in? Okay, so your formula, you have to do y's on top. So that's where I got 2 minus 3 from. Because you do y2 minus y1. But Dallas, so if it confuses you to go in that order, it doesn't matter. You could also do it in the opposite order. So you could also, if you wanted to, do 3 minus 2 on top. Like if you prefer to go from top to bottom, you can. So you could do 3 over 2 on top, but if you do 3 over 2, then you have to do 0 minus 3. But you should end up with the same thing regardless, okay? So if you do it this way, guys, you'll have 1 over -3. But that's the same thing as you should have before, just the negatives in a different place. But does it matter if the negative's on the top versus on the bottom? No. So if you did it the other way, it'd be -1 over 3, but it doesn't matter. So now, do I have everything I need? Yeah. So y equals mx plus b. So y equals, what's your m? Yep, make sure you have the negative sign though, right? -1 over 3, it doesn't matter if you put it in the front, if you put it on the top, put it on the bottom. I don't care, you just need a negative. And then put what letter? X, then plus what? Plus 3. Good.